Good morning, folks. It's 8:27, 48.2 degrees, and just woken up, had breakfast, packed everything up, and now we're hitting the trail, leaving Lion's Head in the Dolly Sods, West Virginia. This is the second day of the 2-day hike, so just a quick little jaunt. But yeah, slept good last night. Wound up not getting very cold. I was kind of nervous about being up on this elevated plateau that I know the weather can get a little dicey up here. So there was no precipitation or anything in the forecast, but even just when it comes to temperatures and winds and stuff like that, it can be pretty rough up here. So I wound up bringing my 0-degree sleeping bag, my Mountain Hardwear Phantom Zero, and that kept me plenty warm. Definitely didn't need that sleeping bag. I would have been just fine in my 20-degree Feathered Friends sleeping bag, but that's fine. Slept good either way, so that's the goal. So yeah, what a beautiful morning so far. You can see all the leaves. It's so funny. Something neat. I don't know if it's because of this elevated plateau or what, but I've definitely noticed so many leaves changing out here. The trees are just really looking great and autumny, which is really nice. And this is actually just how I like them, with some little splashes of red and orange, and then mostly green still. When it all turns yellow and orange, that's very pretty too, but you know, you just kind of get lost in there. So just these little spits of color is really my preference. But yeah, it's funny to see the leaves changing out here when they're really not changing anywhere else. So that's what I was talking about. Maybe it's just a function of it being this strange terrain. But yeah, it was nice to be back in a tent, waking up this morning. I mean, I love waking up next to my wife too, don't get me wrong, but there's just something about being in a tent and waking up and just having that, you know, that first thought be like, the sun's coming up, I made it. All right, well, I was getting ready to wax poetic and my battery died, so yeah, but it's just cool. It's like a very natural sort of human, I feel like, feeling. I'm not at all averse to sleeping in a tent or being outdoors or sleeping in the dark on my own or anything like that. It doesn't worry me. I'm not concerned or scared or anything like that. But all the same, you know, I found that when I sleep in a tent, at least for me, I can only speak for myself on this, but when I sleep in a tent, when I sleep in a tent, it's a strange mix of like the best and the worst sleep. On one hand, you know, fresh air, cold temperatures, and you're just kind of sleeping like a champ. But on the other hand, you know, I mean, look, it's not as comfortable as a bed, that's for sure. So you kind of wake up every hour, at least for me, wake up at the bottom of every sleep cycle, kind of wake up and rotate around or flip around a little bit and then go back to sleep for another 45 minutes, 60 minutes, something like that. So it's not really, instead of just being one long continuous sleep, it's all these sort of not interrupted sleep cycles, but sort of punctuated sleep cycles where you're waking up in between every single one. And so by the time the morning finally comes around and you can, you know, in between those little wake ups, you kind of open your eyes and look at the tent and see just the tiniest little bit of light up in the sky. And yeah, it's just that great feeling of like, all right, terrific. The night is over, and it's going to be a good day. So, you know, and again, it's not that I feel unsafe on my own in a tent or anything like that, but you just have this like safe feeling. I don't really know how to explain it, but And it's not really something that I've found replicatable, I think, in the other world, that is. So it's cool. It's a cool feeling, and it just also just feels very, 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 very natural. It just feels very good. It feels right. I don't really know how to explain that. It just feels like a feeling that I've evolved to feel, like we've evolved as a species to feel. So anyways, that's enough of that. This was my campsite last night. Very lovely. But now we're going through this incredibly overgrown patch of trail right here to try and get back onto a more significant, substantial trail. So this is basically borderline bushwhacking, and I'm going to go ahead and get to it, and we'll check back with y'all. All right. Folks, it's 11:17, just about 65 degrees, and I've reached a bit of a crossroads here. So behind me I can take the Raven Ridge Trail, and that's a bit of a longer path to get back to the car, but it's a little more elevated. The trail, which is over to my left, this dobbingrade trail, is a shortcut, but it also has a heck of a reputation for being an absolute mud pit. Now, Dolly Sods is known generally for being quite muddy, just as it is. Beautiful, and it has been beautiful, and it has also been muddy. Even though it hasn't rained very much at all in the past week or two, it's still muddy. So I've been wondering all morning whether I'm going to go ahead and take the longer, more elevated, less muddy way, or the shorter, at least in distance, but much muddier way. My wife's Daphne's friend Patrick, who's very familiar with this park, warned me that this dobbingrade trail sometimes has mud waist deep, which does not sound very fun at all. But I'm going back to the car, and I got camp shoes and I got dry socks. I think we're just gonna go for it, man. I think we're just gonna go for the dobbingrade trail and see how we go. So we're gonna get dirty. We're gonna get dirty for sure. We'll see how we go. Oh my goodness, so to be sure, this trail is absolutely crazy. You can see that's the trail behind me right there. That's the way I'm going. You ready? Let's go. Oh my goodness. Oh man. I have no idea. Yeah, that's real deep right there, man. That's like a river. That's like 2 feet. More than that, 3 feet. Testing the depth Alright folks, 12:35, about 66 degrees, and we're back at the trailhead. There we are. Dolly Sods. Definitely a pretty good hike. Fun little spot. Not quite as like bizarre as I thought it'd been. It'd been hyped up as being like a really magical, unique place, but maybe I'm just spoiled. The past 8 months I've seen some pretty magical, unique spaces, so but this is a fantastic place. Definitely a fantastic place. And pretty popular too. I mean, as you can tell, decent number of cars here on a Thursday. I parked up at that other parking lot right up ahead. Yeah, but definitely a good hike. That dobbingrade that's a trip, man, but I'll tell you, it was fun. It was definitely fun. I mean, you know, if you don't mind getting your feet muddy, and if I had to do it all over again, I would do it the exact same. I mean, I definitely think it's probably a wise move to do that mud pit section on your way back to the car, but you know, it's definitely worth doing, I think. Definitely worth doing. So yeah, good hike. Slept good, hiked good. Probably about 23 miles, I'm guessing, you know, more or less. Man, the views. I don't know if you can take in all those miles or mountains far off. That's pretty, man. That's real pretty. Yeah, anyways, I think that's about all I got. Fun little hike. Some of my upcoming videos, I definitely plan on, as soon as I get a good day, doing like a whole sort of like overview of how I pitch the Z-Packs duplex and some of the fun nuances. I've mentioned it a couple times in a couple videos by now, that there's all sorts of neat tips and tricks and sort of nips and tucks that you can do with that tent to make it just perfect for any situation. And I've never actually gone through how to do that. So if you haven't already, hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell or whatever, and you'll get all those notifications as soon as that video comes up. That's one I plan on doing. I have some announcements I'm not really ready to make just yet, but you know, if you've been following the channel, you'll want to keep following the channel because there'll be all sorts of news coming up in the next few months. But some other videos I plan on doing coming up is once it gets colder. Definitely want to do some snowy hikes, get some practice in with the ice axes and things like this, see how to self-arrest, maybe get some snowshoes and see how that goes. Yeah, man, today's been beautiful, yesterday was beautiful. Just kind of a nice slow pitch sort of hike through a beautiful little spot. So anyways, we'll get back in the car, and it's about 3 hours to get back home, and I'm excited to be there. So I'll check in with you all next time. Thanks so much for checking it out.